Welcome to this talk, 3 languages in 3 minutes, observations of a newbie. So this is going to be a lightning talk, so buckle up. It's going to be fast and furious, ready, steady, go. There are not going to be any questions, but you can take pictures if you want. I'm Roland. I'm a senior software engineer with Community. I'm building large distributed systems for 30 years, 8 years of Haskell and Scala, but only 8 weeks of Elixir, so I'm the newbie. And Community is actually a platform that we are currently building to fostering more meaningful conversations between people again. If you hate Twitter and Facebook, then you will be a Community customer sooner or later. The back end is written in Elixir, and we are currently building a globally distributed software engineering team. If you want to know more, come and see me afterwards. People that use it are people like Paul McCartney, maybe my generation, and maybe Marshmallow, maybe your generation. And today I learned something from Tatjana in the morning. It's all about asking the right questions. So the question is, what is my Twitter handle? My Twitter handle is Innovosity, which is the velocity of innovation. And in the next 3 minutes, we will fill out that spreadsheet here, and we'll talk about development, performance, and a couple of observations. So everybody knows the Fibonacci sequence, and we know that with the Fibonacci sequence, you can explain everything. Almost everything. But the Fibonacci sequence is obviously the sum of 2 consecutive numbers, and there are a couple of ways to implement it, and we can talk about these ways. So one way to implement it is obviously the mathematical way to just recursively sum up the 2 consecutive numbers. That is Haskell, but I think everybody can read that. Then we have the same implementation, very simple, in Scala. Again, we are using pattern matching here, and everybody should understand what that is. And then obviously we have wonderful Elixir here, again, pattern matching. It works. What we get out of that is, when we run it, we get 9 seconds on Haskell, 7 seconds on Scala, and 34 seconds on Elixir. Let me talk about that in a minute. Couple of observations here. My first impression is that Mix is actually faster than SBT. Not sure who has used Scala and SBT back there, for instance. I just want to point out that does not mean that Mix is fast. It means SBT is actually very slow. So but it's very, very welcome. I cannot explain this. So I, let's say, don't know why Elixir is so much slower than Haskell and Scala for that simple implementation. We are calculating the 40-second Fibonacci number here. The results are in second. This is not very scientific, so cut me some slack. But it's slow, and the stack will obviously explode, and we will have an integer overflow very fast. So we can improve on this with a tail-recursive implementation. This is the one in Haskell where you just, let's say, pass through the recursion and accumulator. And you can do the same thing, obviously, with Scala. And you can do the same thing, obviously, with Elixir. Yeah? So far, so good. One thing here about the Scala implementation is we have to use a different data type. We have to use big int, otherwise we cannot show the numbers. Jesus Christ. I get 1 more minute because the microphone was not working. Summary, now when we have tail and recursive, it's almost, the numbers look much, much better. Suddenly Scala is the slowest, and obviously in Elixir we don't need something like big int because integers are, can be as big as we want them, need them. This is the Fibonacci sequence for the 10,000th element, much faster, and the stack does not explode. Last but not least, we can have a lazy list implementation that works in Haskell out of the box. Scala, again, we need to use a special data type called a stream. And obviously, in Elixir, we can do the same thing and can basically use a stream implementation and can get to the 10,000th element that way. Same performance. I switched to a micro benchmarking setup, used time IT, roll your own, and found very nice in Erlang the time TC thing. That was very nice. I like the stream-based approach. I think it's elegant. So just summary, Haskell, I like the types. Scala, I like the JVM. If somebody wants and needs to do functional programming on the JVM, for me personally, Scala is the language of choice. And on the Elixir side, as a newbie, I like the LLVM and the processes. There are other sources that you can use for these kind of summaries, where you can see that on one side we have obviously the LLVM great tooling, but on the other side we have the type safety from Stack Share. And now the question is, what is Roland's Twitter handle? It's Analycity. Use it. I'm done. Who's next?